Hi everybody. Caregivers are asking what to do when neighbors or friends are interfering with the care of elderly parents. We'll take a look at the situation from both sides, the side of the caregiver and the side of your elderly parents and their neighbors or longtime friends. And I'll share 3 tips for how to be kind when working with neighbors and friends that you feel might be getting in the middle of family care situations. I'm Pamela D Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. On there, my complimentary online caregiver courses, my podcast, The Caring Generation, my book, The Caregiving Trap, my blog with a lot of articles, and my caregiver library with additional information. So how do these situations arise? The situation of neighbors or friends most often arises when adult children become involved in care situations. Let's say that you were not previously heavily involved. Your parents kind of went on with their lives, and of course they had their own lives, much like you do with your work life and your friend life and maybe your neighbors. But what happens is, all of a sudden, your parents get sick. They have a health accident, and you have to show up on the scene, right? And when you show up on the scene, you have all these pieces and parts to manage, and sometimes those include neighbors and friends who have been helping your parents for years. So number 1 is, it's important to try to understand the relationship between your parents and your neighbors and your parents and their friends. Because what you might not realize is that these friends and these neighbors were technically caregivers for your parents. They delayed you having to come on the scene and do all the things that you're about ready to get to do. And if that's the case, then establishing a positive relationship with them is a good thing. And saying thank you to show appreciation is even a better thing. While they're not family, realize also that they can continue to be helpful to you if they want to, and if you can identify what type of help or support or assistance they're willing to continue to provide. Now, on the other hand, they may have been helping your parents, honestly, for a long time, and they may be saying, okay, we can't do this anymore. We need family to be involved, and we want to step back, and we only want to be the friends and only want to be the neighbors. So as the caregiver, it's important for you to gain clarity on, do they want to continue to be involved? How do they want to continue to be involved? Do they not want to be involved? And to make a plan to see that your elderly parents get the care that they need. Number 2 is, you go past this, and if you still feel that your neighbors are interfering or causing problems, try to figure out exactly what they're doing that's causing the problems. And does this really contradict what your parent wants? Your elderly parent may be saying, hey, help me with this. You've always done this. I want you to continue to do that. I don't want my kids involved, right? So your mom or dad may kind of be in the middle of this, and you have to figure out what's working, what's not working, who's asking what person to do which. So examples of neighborhood or friend interference could be something like your mom or dad has dementia or Alzheimer's, and they're not supposed to drive a car anymore because it's really not safe. But you haven't gone to the step yet of taking the car away or having this conversation with them, right? And so your neighbors are encouraging your parents to drive, and maybe they got into a car accident, and you're thinking, oh, this is really bad. But when you think about the basis of the foundation of the neighbor and the friend help, right? Their goal is to help your parents remain independent, probably so they can still live their lives and they're not taking on more work. So of course they're going to want your parent to drive and be independent and all of this. Their motivation is a little different than yours, which is, oh my gosh, my parents are not safe driving. What if they hit somebody? What if they have an accident? What if they get hurt? So in that case, you may have to have a side conversation with neighbors or friends saying, I don't know how much you know about dementia or Alzheimer's, but this is how it works. And these are the risks of my parents driving a car. And while I can see that you really want them to be independent, it's probably not a good thing, and we've got to kind of phase out of this. And there may be a little bit of a boundary issue here because maybe these friends and neighbors previously took your parents to the doctor and now you're doing that, and maybe they feel entitled because they've been doing this for a long time and now you're stepping in, kind of usurping their authority, if you want to call it that. Additionally, the neighbors may be looking at the situation, or the friends, to say, gosh, I wouldn't want my kids to treat me that way, or I wouldn't want my kids to take the car away. So in a sense, they're in the place where your parents are, putting in their opinions, but they don't have to live with the consequences you do. And that is the difference that you want to emphasize. So look at the big things that are happening that need to change. Come up with explanations and foundations. Have confirmation with your parents. Talk to friends and neighbors. Be empathetic. Be compassionate. Be understanding. Because you don't want to make it look like you don't appreciate everything that they did. Because caregivers often feel unappreciated, right? So you don't want to push that on them. You want them to feel appreciated and still involved in the things that you would like to have their help with. Number 3, sometimes situations go a little too far. Let's say that you've talked to the neighbors and and they're still interfering. At that point, it could be happening because your parents are asking them to. So you want to have a conversation with your parents, and then maybe you actually have a meeting with your parents and the neighbors and the friends to talk about all this and say, look, neighbors, friends, we love you. I'm the caregiver. I've got all these things. Would love to have your help with these things. And realize that your parents may not want to say anything to their friends or neighbors because they don't want to feel ungrateful, or maybe they don't want to damage their relationship. And they don't want to lose those friends or neighbors, because if they live alone and you live, an hour or two away, they still need to have a social life, right? They still want to have friends. So there's this gray area of how much can friends be involved? What are your responsibilities as the caregivers? Kind of where are your parents coming in? And the easiest way is to get all 3 parties together to have conversations. That way they can stay involved. Your parents can have their friends and their neighbors, and everything is great. Because in most cases, neighbors and friends want to be helpful. But it's not until something happens with a parent that children get involved, and all of a sudden, all these relationships get a little crazy. So rather than being judgmental or argumentative, learn the foundation of the help of the friends and neighbors, why they became involved, what they want to continue to do, what they don't want to continue to do, and then find a middle ground where everybody can compromise and work toward the best interests of your parents. And find a way to let the neighbors know that you value them. Give them your phone number. Ask them to call you if they see anything strange or something happens that you should know about. Because many times caregivers want to take over everything. And then eventually they feel like they're doing everything. They feel burdened. They feel exhausted. So rather than send away this helping network that your parents already have established, it would be better for you, the caregiver, to keep this helping network involved as long as possible so that you can avoid caregiver burnout and exhaustion and maintain a great relationship with your parents and their friends. I'm Pamela D Wilson. My website, PamelaDWilson.com. Plenty of help there. Please press the share button on these videos. Follow me on my YouTube channel. There are hundreds of videos here answering questions caregivers ask. Have a great day today. I will see you all again soon in another video.